There's a whole bunch of different types of cryptocurrency. Like you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, you have Litecoin. People are going right back to their bad spending habits that put them in the financial mess that they were in the first place. What do you have on sale for $50? Oh, that's $75. I'll take it. What's up, everybody? I am Jaspreet Singh from theminoritymindset.com, where money minds rethink rich. Oftentimes, the things that keep so many people broke are not the big purchases or not the obvious dumb financial mistakes. It's the little mistakes, because these things can poke holes into your financial wallet and they just start leaking your money out. So if you're trying to figure out how to build wealth, you need to know how to avoid these expensive habits, which I'm going to be going over in this video. In the financial world, there's really only one thing that's worse than Starbucks when it comes to keeping you broke: your car. This is why you see article after article talking about why cars, especially new cars, are keeping Americans broke. But there's more to the story than this, because the whole point of having the minority mindset and thinking different than the majority of people isn't that way you're going to live the rest of your life being cheap and frugal and not giving yourself the luxuries that you're working so hard to be able to afford. The whole point of having this minority mindset and being financially educated is so you can live life the way you want and be able to afford all the things you want. So when it comes to cars, if you're a big fan of cars and you want to be able to own a new car, you got to know when it makes sense to buy a new car. Let me get right into today's video. Okay, if we're talking strictly financially, when does it make sense to buy a new car? The answer is never. You are going to way overpay when you buy a new car versus a used car. I mean, you can save 20 to 40% on your car's value just by driving a car that's 1 or 2 years old. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you can see that this video is not 1 minute long, so there must be more to it than that. Buying a new car is not the financially smart thing or the frugal thing to do. It's a luxury. You can think of it kind of like flying first class. If you were gonna fly from New York to California and you want an economy class ticket, you could do it for like $200, even less than that. But if you wanted to fly first class from New York to California, that's gonna cost you almost $900. That's a $700 difference for the exact same journey, just a different experience. If you fly on the backseat of Spirit, you're gonna get a super cheap ticket. Just make sure your backpack fits into that bin that they give you, because if it doesn't, they're gonna charge you $100 at the gate. But you're gonna get to California just like the first class ticket is gonna get you there. But it's just not gonna be as nice of an experience because you're sitting on Spirit instead of first class at Delta. There's nothing wrong or shameful about taking Spirit. It's just not as comfortable. I mean, I've taken Spirit plenty of times. Last time I flew with Spirit, I flew from Philly to Detroit, and I paid for that big seat upgrade, you know, the front 2 rows where they give you the bigger seat. Paid $35 for that. And as I was about to board the plane, I gave the lady my ticket and she says, "Oh, it looks like you didn't pay for the big seat." And I said, "Yeah, I did." I showed her the confirmation on my phone. Then she's like, "Oh, we must have a glitch in our system because we gave your seat away to somebody else. So now I didn't have a seat on the plane. They made me wait until the entire plane was boarded, and then they made me sit on a random seat, and I didn't get my money back for the big seat upgrade." I still got to Detroit just fine. It just wasn't as comfortable or enjoyable of an experience. Sometimes used cars are gonna give you more headaches. I mean, that's just the game. If you are not a mechanic or if you're not a car person, you might not be able to tell what's good and what's not good, and when you start driving the car, you might realize that this car needs some work. But in general, buying a used car can save you a lot of money. Like, let's say you wanted to buy yourself this brand new $50,000 car. Oh yeah, the minute you drive this car off the lot, you are gonna lose $5,000 worth of value. So in 1 minute, the value of this car is gonna drop from $50,000 to $45,000. In 1 year, the value of this car is gonna drop another $5,000 to $40,000. In 2 years, so 2 years after buying this, the value of your car is gonna drop to $34,000. And in 5 years, this car that you paid $50,000 for is gonna drop in value to $20.5 thousand, so $20,500. If you finance this car, it's gonna run you at least $600 a month. So you paid $50,000 for the car, but if you just bought it a couple years later, you could buy this once $50,000 car for just $34,000, and you can avoid paying the $600 a month. You can compare doing this to buying a used car. So to get the $600 monthly payment, I assumed that you put $6,000 down in order to buy this car. If you took that $6,000 and instead of putting it down to finance this car, let's assume you buy yourself a nice but good working $6,000 used car with cash. Now you have no monthly payments, and now you can pay yourself $600 a month. month. Now, after a year, you're gonna have an extra $7,000 in your pocket that you can use with your $6,000 car to buy yourself a brand new, even nicer car. Just do the math. Instead of you paying the $600 a month to your car company or to your bank, let's assume that you're just throwing this money into your bank account, your savings account. Every single year, you're gonna throw an extra $7,000 into your bank account because this is money you don't have to pay your car company. So in 1 year, you'll have $7,000. In 2 years, you'll have just over $14,000, and you're driving a $6,000 car. When you're driving a $6,000 car that's in good working condition, it's not gonna lose that much more value in a year or two. So in 2 years, you're gonna have $14,000 worth of cash and a $6,000 car that you can sell. Now you can go out and buy yourself a $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 car with cash and not worry about making any payments. This is where some people get kind of upset and they say things like, "Oh, Jaspreet, you don't know anything about cars. If you just buy the right car, it will appreciate in value and then you can sell the car for a profit after you're done driving it." Sure, but that's the exception. That's not the rule. It's kind of like saying you can lose weight by eating at McDonald's. Yeah, in theory you could if you're weird and you eat this certain salad that they don't even have on the menu. Yeah, I'm sure you could lose weight by eating at McDonald's, but that's the exception. It's not the rule. Most of us are gonna gain weight and get fat if we eat at McDonald's every single day, just like how most people are gonna lose money on their cars by driving a new car. If we're talking strictly financially, it makes a lot of sense just to buy a car that's 2 years old because now you're getting a car that's relatively new and you're not paying top dollar for it because you're buying it at a huge discount off of what it was selling for just 2 years ago. It's still hopefully in good working condition because it's still pretty new and you're saving a whole lot of money. But that doesn't answer the question in this video because the question is, when does it make sense for you to buy a new car? In order to understand that, we really need to take a look at assets versus liabilities and understand where your car actually lies. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you've heard me talk about assets versus liabilities before. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should probably do that. But assets are things that put money into your pocket. So these are investments. These are things you buy for the sole purpose of making more money. So when you buy stocks, you buy real estate, you buy other investments, these are things you're buying for the purpose of making money. Because when you invest your money in the stock market, you're hoping that the stocks that you're buying will go up in value and make you more money. When you use money to buy real estate investments, you're buying it that way you can make passive income, cash flow, and you're probably hoping that the value of your real estate will go up too. So when you're buying assets, you're hoping that this thing that you're buying is going to go up in value and make you more money. Liabilities are the opposite. Liabilities are things that you buy that don't make you money. These are things that just take money away from you and they don't make you any money because as soon as you buy this thing, the value of the thing that you're buying is dropping like a rock. So these are things like clothes. As soon as you buy yourself a brand new $100 wardrobe, you're not gonna be able to sell it for anything near $100. This is like a vacation. If you buy yourself a $5,000 vacation, you're not making any money off of it. This is like cars, because as soon as you buy a new car, the value of the car is gonna drop like a rock. I just showed you that. So cars fall here in the liability side of things. You're driving a car for a utility. You're driving a car to get from point A to point B, and it is a liability because it's not making you any money. So what you want to do is when you're building your wealth, you want all your money here. You want to buy as many assets as possible because these are things that are going to make you wealthy. These are the things that are going to make you rich, and these are the things that are going to make you financially free, because if you're spending more of your money here, then you have more of your money coming back and you own more things that are making you more money. The mistake everybody makes is they spend their money here and they try to justify these liabilities by selling these liabilities to themselves in their brain as assets. They say, yeah, you know, this car might be able to make me some more money in the future, or if I drive a nice car, I'll be able to make more sales, or if I have a nice wardrobe, yeah, it's gonna make me look better and do better in interviews. But if we're talking strictly financially, these liabilities are not things that are going to make you more money. Sure, driving a nicer car might make you more presentable. Having a nice wardrobe might make you look better in interviews, but are they actually going to make you more money? Is your car going to make you more money? Will you be able to sell it for a profit? Chances are no. So stop trying to sell yourself these liabilities as assets and understand what an asset is and what a liability is. Right now, at the time of me recording this video, the average new car payment in the United States is $568 a month. This is absolutely absurd because you are paying interest to drive a depreciating liability. So you're paying interest, you're paying a premium to drive something that's losing you money. It makes no sense. Let's take a look at what would happen if you took this money and you put it in an asset instead. So now we're gonna say we're investing this $568 a month. After 10 years, if you threw this money in the stock market, this $568 a month that you're no longer throwing into a liability would have become $100,000 just because you're throwing this money in the stock market and getting an average return. In 20 years, your $568 investment that's not going to your car company or to your bank, that's going to your wealth, would have grown to $300,000, assuming you just get an average return. And if you did this for 45 years, if you do this until you hit retirement, this $568 monthly investment would have grown to $2 million, but you're too busy driving around in a car with a heating steering wheel. These are very real and possible numbers. I'm not giving you crazy hypotheticals. I'm assuming a very reasonable return. And all you're doing is just taking this money and not giving it to your bank and not giving it to a car company. You are investing this money into an asset instead of a liability. This car in a few years is going to be worthless. It's not going to be worth anything after 10 years or 20 years or 45 years, but this money you're investing will continue to have value because you're buying assets, and it will continue to grow assuming you're buying assets that are growing. So now, when you're talking about buying a new car, you need to understand, where are you in your financial journey? Are you okay throwing this away? Or are you okay having this? The first and should be most obvious point is if you want to buy a new car and you have to finance it because you don't have the cash to buy it outright, then you should not be buying a new car. You can't afford it. Buying a new car is the ultimate luxury, okay? It doesn't matter if you're driving a brand new Benz or a beat up Toyota. Both of these cars are going to take you to work just fine. You're not going to get to work faster, and you're not going to be more efficient in your work. Both of these things are going to take you to work. One is just going to give you a more enjoyable experience. It's kind of like flying first class. When you fly first class from New York to California, you're going to get to California just like you did with Spirit. It's just going to be a more enjoyable experience. And so now, if you want that luxury, that's fine. You just got to make sure you can afford it first, because that money that you're putting towards this luxury could be used to build your wealth. And so if you don't have that wealth built first, then you got to be using your money to build your wealth before you're buying luxuries. For the majority of Americans, you should not be driving a brand new car. That money would be much better served going into your assets, your investments, instead of a car, which is just eating your money. This is what's keeping the majority of Americans broke, because they think they can afford a brand new car, but you can only make the monthly payments. There's a big difference between being able to afford a car and being able to make the monthly payments. So if we're talking about buying a brand new car, not a used car, but a brand new car, we're talking about you buying a luxury. If you want to be able to afford these luxuries, you really need to be able to afford it and not be stretching yourself to be able to afford a luxury. So if you want to buy a brand new car, you got to follow the rule of 5. If you can't buy 5 of them, you can't afford one of them. So that means if you want to buy yourself a $50,000 brand new car, fine. Just make sure you can afford 5 of them. You better have the cash ready to afford $250,000 worth of cars before you can buy yourself a $50,000 car. If you don't have that kind of money, then you shouldn't be buying a brand new $50,000 car right now. Your money will be much better served going into assets being invested on your behalf. That way you could build this wealth. That way, when you want to actually buy that car, you can afford it because you have used your money to buy assets before you're throwing all this money into liabilities like a car, which isn't making you any money. If you want to buy a really expensive brand new car, you want to buy a supercar, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You should want to do those things, but you got to just make sure that you can afford it, because you need to understand what a car is. A car is a money pit. And so if you want to buy a money pit, fine. You just got to make sure you have the money to be able to afford the money pit and have it not affect you. If it's going to affect you financially, or if you're going to have to stretch yourself to afford this car, you shouldn't be buying this car right now. Right now, you should be buying something used with cash and take the monthly payment that you would have paid and pay yourself, buy yourself some assets, buy yourself some investments. That way you can build your wealth so you can afford the dream car that you want and not have to worry about the price. Let's face it, the majority of people don't always make the best money decisions. I mean, oh, where did this $50 bill come from? Must be garbage that was in my pocket. Anyways, my goal is to help you make less of those bad decisions, and in this video, I'm gonna be going over 5 things that you need to stop doing. Now that I got my $50 back, have you ever looked at your friends' spending decisions and wondered, wow, what a dumb way to use your money? Are you kidding me? I judge my friends all the time. Well, how many times do you think your friends are secretly judging you? Did Bunty really just spend $500 on a new PlayStation? He's $20,000 in credit card debt. Some bad financial decisions are more obvious than others. That's why in this video, I'm gonna be going over 5 dumb ways that people use their money, some of them from personal experience. That way you do not waste your money doing these 5 things. First, you get so used to the spending that you don't know what it would be like to not spend your money. Has this ever happened to you? You go to the mall to buy a pair of jeans and you think it's gonna cost you $100, and you go and buy the jeans, and that's when you find out the jeans are on sale for $50, so you got to save $50. Now you have this extra $50 in your hand and you tell yourself, I'm gonna take this extra $50 and I'm gonna put it in my bank and save it, or I'm gonna take this extra $50 and I'm going to invest it. Yeah, well, lots of people say that, but not many people actually do that. People in America don't like the idea of taking extra cash that they thought they were going to spend and then saving the money or investing the money. Instead, they like to take this extra cash that they thought they were going to spend and they spend it. What do you have on sale for $50? Oh, that's $75. I'll take it. Studies show that when gas prices fall from $4 a gallon down to $2 a gallon or below $2 a gallon, people could save $10, $20, $30, $40 a week depending on how much you drive. But what actually ends up happening is people create this imaginary budget in their mind where they think, oh, I have to spend $50 a week on my gas, so when gas prices come down, people actually end up spending more money on gas because they start using premium gas because you have this imaginary budget that says you need to spend more money on gas. So gas prices come down and you make up for this discount by pumping more expensive gas. I have no use for an extra $20 a week anyways. Credit card debt in America is breaking a record high, and almost half of Americans have credit card debt, and the average American who has credit card debt has over $6,000 worth of credit card debt. So that $10, $20, $30, $40 you could have saved every single week could have saved you a ton of money in interest on your credit card payments. When you create this imaginary budget in your mind where you tell yourself you need to spend $50 a week on gas, it's very hard for people to only spend $25. So you need to break out of that system, start saving that cash and using it to build your wealth. Second, don't confuse your liabilities and assets. An asset is something that makes you rich, and liability is something that keeps you broke. So assets are things like investments, stock investments, real estate investments, things that you buy for the purpose of making money. Liabilities are things that keep taking money away from your pockets. When I was in high school, I was making pretty good money for a high school kid. I mean, I was working at Auntie Anne's Pretzels, so I was making pretzels and working the cashier. That was like my regular hourly job. I also worked at weddings on weekends, and I was kind of starting up my own event planning business. So I was making some decent money as a high school kid. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but for a high school kid, it was pretty good. And when I made this money, I would invest my money into my car. Anytime I had some extra cash, I parked this money in my car because I just wanted to have a sweet ride. I drove a Toyota, and one of the first things I did was I put on custom rims on my car, then I put on tints on my car, and then I got the sound system put in my car, but I didn't pay the $99 to upgrade it. That way I could have Bluetooth in the sound system because I didn't know what Bluetooth was at the time. Then I put subwoofers on my car, and then the first time I had $4,000 in my bank account, I was gonna go out and put Lamborghini doors, those butterfly doors on my car, the ones that go up. But my cousin was like, Jaspreet, you're an idiot. Don't do that. I used to watch a lot of Pimp My Ride when I was a kid, and it was all about customizing cars. And thankfully, I was not driving around in a Toyota with butterfly doors. I spent probably thousands of dollars on my car thinking I was investing this money, but I was actually investing this money into a liability, so it's not really investing. But all that money went nowhere because the car became worthless. But if I had actually invested that money into an asset, something that makes me money, well, then I would have turned my couple $1,000s that I invested into my car into something a whole lot more, because every dollar you spend on something that is a liability could be worth $2, if not a whole lot more in the future. So if I spent $2,000 upgrading my car, yeah, I spent $2,000, but I also lost out on the opportunity to make $4,000. The reason I say that every $1 you spend on a liability today is $2 you could have in the future is because if you invest $1 today and you get an average rate of return, that $1 will be worth $2 in a decade. Third, you save all your money. This one goes against pretty much every Indian person's teachings because every Indian person teaches their kid that you need to make $1, that way you can save 80 cents and spend 20 cents because the Indian mentality is to save and spend as little money as possible. I'm speaking from personal experience here. Growing up, spending unnecessary money was almost as bad as doing drugs, so you can imagine how people felt when they saw me spend money on my car. You said the video game is $50? Yeah, I'll take that. What do you think you're doing? Oh, nothing. I was just doing some drugs. Okay, I thought you were wasting money. Wait, what? I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I don't believe in doing any of that. And maybe that was a little bit of a stretch, but in an Indian house, you were kind of raised with the saving mentality. Now look, saving money is better than blowing all your money on video games and clothes and cars, but saving money isn't using your money to its full potential. Everybody needs to have savings, okay? You need to have an emergency savings fund. If you do not have any money saved for emergencies, then the very first thing you need to do is save money as fast as possible. That way you can save some money for emergencies. Once you have some money saved for emergencies, once you got 6 months worth of expenses saved, now it's time for you to really use your money. If you save an extra $10,000 when you're 20 years old and that money does nothing except just sit in your bank, you are losing out on the opportunity of having $200,000 when it comes time for you to retire because you could invest that $10,000 instead. Time is so important when it comes to investing because if you take that $10,000 and you invest it when you're 20, by the time you're 65, that $10,000 can grow to over $200,000. But if you start when you're 30 and you take the same $10,000 and you invest it, now that $10,000 is only going to grow to $100,000. You need time on your side, that way you can grow your money and build your wealth, but that will never happen if you are saving all of your money. The longer you invest your money, the more aggressively you invest, and the more money you invest, the more wealthy you will become, which is why you need to have savings, but you need to also be investing your money. Save enough money to protect your finances, that way you never have to worry about going into debt when an emergency happens. Once you do that, you need to start investing aggressively, that way you can really build your wealth. Fourth, you don't value your time. When you're in college, $1 is very valuable. And one thing that I thought was very interesting was how much people were willing to sacrifice to save $1. Or I guess in this case, $3. On my college campus, there was a Ben & Jerry's ice cream parlor, and every single year they would do this promotion where they would let you get a free cone of ice cream. I think it costed like $2.99 if you bought it. But if you come on the specific day, they will give you a free $2.99 ice cream. I think that price is a little bit deceiving though, because if you go and get that free scoop of ice cream, they don't give you a whole scoop, they only give you half. But people would get so excited behind the idea of getting a free cone of ice cream that they would stand in line for 3 hours. That way they could get a free cone of ice cream when you're only getting $1.50 worth of ice cream. Now look, I'm an entrepreneur, and from a business standpoint, that is amazing marketing because Ben & Jerry's gets so much buzz and so much PR giving people free ice cream cones. But let's look at this from a financial standpoint. You are trying to get a $3 ice cream cone, I rounded it up, for free, and you're waiting in line for 3 hours. So if we do the math, $3 for 3 hours, that means you are valuing your time at 3 divided by 3, $1 an hour. Now I know you're just a college kid, but still, I think your time is worth a little bit more than $1 an hour. But this doesn't just happen when we're in college. This happens all around us. How many times have you seen your friends spend hours and hours and hours trying to find a coupon so they can save $20? Or how many times have you spent months trying to figure out how you can save an extra $500 on your car? Saving your money is great. You should always try to negotiate and get the best price possible, but you also have to value your time. If you can make $20 an hour at your job, is it really worth 30 minutes worth of your time to save $5? Sometimes it's better for us to pay a little bit more and spend our time earning more money. That way we can grow the pot and have more money and then worry a little bit less about the price. Fifth, you let salespeople make your financial decisions for you. I used to be a real estate salesperson and I was the worst salesperson there was. I don't mean to brag, but I'm pretty good at real estate and I'm pretty good at selling, but I hated the idea of selling something to someone that they couldn't afford. I'm a financial person and I'm always thinking of affordability, which is why the sales process for me was kind of really hard, even though I love selling. Sales is a lot of fun. You get to learn about persuasion and you get to learn about people and you get to help people make buying decisions, but salespeople are not in the business of looking out for your financial health. A salesperson's job is to make money. Not for you, but for the company that they work for. When a salesperson tells you that you're getting a great deal, what that means is it's a great deal for their commission check. It's the same with your bank. When you go to the bank and you ask them how big of a loan can you get or how big of a house can you afford, their job is not to look out for your financial health. Their job is to make money. Not for you, but for the bank. You need to be a salesperson for your wallet. Your job is to keep more money in your pocket because your job is to make yourself the most money. Now, this doesn't mean that all salespeople are evil or that they're bad. This is the business that they're in, and so you need to understand how to protect your finances. That way you can build your wealth first. Before we jump back into the video, I do want to let you know that if you are interested in learning more about how to invest your money into the stock market, we created a program called Stock Market Insiders to help you with that. Stock Market Insiders is a weekly coaching program where every week you get to access a group coaching session with one of our coaches, and these coaches will teach you a new stock market lesson every single week. And because these lessons are live, you can take what you learned today and apply it to what's going on in the market right now. So let's assume that this week's lesson is all about how to understand and read cash flow statements. Your coach might go over how to read cash flow statements and how to understand cash flow statements. And because these lessons are live, if a company like, let's say, Tesla released their earnings this week, they might go over Tesla's cash flow statement. That way you can actually apply what you learn and understand how to use the education that you get. Now, if you're newer to the stock market, you might be worried. What if I enroll in Stock Market Insiders and I can't keep up or I don't understand what's going on? Well, as soon as you enroll into Stock Market Insiders, you also get access to our Stock Market Beginners class for free, which will walk you through the things you need to understand about investing your money in the stock market and how the stock market works. And this is included with Stock Market Insiders. Plus, you're also going to get access to all the previous recordings so you can watch those, and you also get access to your own exclusive community of serious investors. This is a community where you can talk about what's going on in the stock market, you can talk about investment ideas, and you can ask your questions. You can ask your questions to the community, you can ask your questions to the coaches, and you can network with other investors. Now, when I was working to create Stock Market Insiders, there was two things that were very important to me: the price and the teachers, because I wanted to make sure, one, that this is very affordable, and second, I wanted to make sure that the teachers were real stock market teachers, not just some random gurus off the street. All of our coaches are real stock market investors. This is something that they've been doing for years. They've been getting great returns, and they have the proof behind them, meaning hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in the market. And my goal was to make Stock Market Insiders super affordable. That way anybody who wants to know how to invest their money in the stock market can get access to top-notch coaching. You're not going to have to pay $1,000 to get access to Stock Market Insiders. It costs less than the price of dinner for two, and if you still don't believe me, you can try it all out for free. We have a free 10-day trial, and as soon as you enroll for the free trial, you're going to get access to the free Stock Market Beginners course. You'll get access to the free Stock Market Beginners course. You'll get access to all of our previous recordings. You'll be able to join in on our weekly coaching calls, and you'll also get access to the exclusive community of serious investors. That way you can try it out, see if you like it, you can ask your questions, you can learn, and then you can see if it's worth the money. If you don't like it, you can just cancel before the free trial is over, and you don't have to pay a penny. So you can try it out and then see if it's right for you. So if you want to learn more and start your free 10-day trial for Stock Market Insiders, I'll put the link to where you can learn more and do that in the description below. Now let's jump back in the video. In 2020, we had a very weird economy. At first, when the pandemic hit, everybody got scared because businesses were being forced to shut down, people were losing their jobs, people stopped making money. But that's when the government came out with their own unemployment program, and then people started making more money. And then people started going back to work, and then the government started sending out stimulus checks. So now you had a lot of people that didn't lose an income, but they lost a lot of expenses because you weren't allowed to go out and shop because malls were closed and people didn't want to go outside of their home. So people were sitting in their homes, they were stacking cash, and then the government created new forbearance programs which said that you don't have to pay your mortgages, you don't have to pay your student loans, and a lot of people were not paying the rent. So all of a sudden, you were making the same money as before, and a lot of people were actually making more money during the pandemic thanks to the help of unemployment programs or thanks to the help of stimulus checks on top of your regular income. So people were making more money with less expenses. So now all of a sudden, people had extra cash and they didn't have anywhere to spend it. So people started saving, they started investing, and they started paying down debt. CNBC Make It reported that a third of Americans say that they got better with their money during the pandemic. Fortune said that Americans invested more money in the past 5 months than they did in the last 12 years. And then CNBC also said that Americans paid off a record $83 billion in credit card debt in 2020. It was a really strange phenomenon we were seeing because on one hand, we were arguably in one of the worst recessions in decades, and on the second hand, people were getting smarter financially and people's finances were actually improving because they were still making money and they didn't have the expenses that they had. I'm a money nerd, so when I read that Americans are paying down their credit card debt and now they're investing more and they're building up some cash savings, this made me very happy and I got very excited about our future. But it looks like Americans are making a U-turn with their finances because you have millions of people going back to the same bad spending habits that they had before, and now they're accelerating them. Wallet Hub just released this brand new credit card study, and let me just read you this first paragraph. It says that US consumers have started to return to bad habits when it comes to credit card debt following a record-setting reduction in 2020 that continued into the first quarter of 2021. During the second quarter of 2021, consumers added $45.7 billion to their credit card tab. That is an all-time record that nearly wiped out the first quarter paydown that we just talked about. And furthermore, Wallet Hub now projects that consumers will end the year with a net addition of $100 billion in credit card debt, which far exceeds the 10-year average of $45 billion. This is absurd. So many people had the opportunity of a lifetime to finally start building wealth because you had the opportunity to not spend money while you were still making money. So people were stacking cash, they were paying down this expensive debt, and people finally, for the first time ever, had the opportunity to start building wealth. You had a head start in everything because the government shut down your expenses. And now people are going right back to their bad spending habits that put them in the financial mess that they were in the first place. Just look at this credit card debt chart between 2019 and 2020. In 2019, we had about $75 billion worth of credit card debt. Then you see this massive crash. It looks like the stock market crash, but it's actually credit card debt crashing. In 2020, we saw a record low amount of credit card debt, and then in 2021, we broke all records again. You can just see the credit card debt skyrocket. And then if you scroll a little bit lower, it shows you that the increase in credit card debt during the second quarter of 2021 was almost 3 times bigger than the post-Great Recession average for the second quarter. When I read this article and I see the charts and I see what's going on with people's finances, the only thing that I want to know is why. Why would you throw away this golden opportunity? Why would you throw this away when you had the opportunity to build wealth literally delivered to you on a silver platter? Why would you throw away the opportunity to take care of your family when you had it given to you? But it goes to show the power of everything we talk about. Building wealth and becoming financially successful has nothing to do with how much money you're making. It has nothing to do with who your parents are. It has nothing to do with what degree you have. And it has everything to do with how you use your money. Financial education is the backbone to anyone's financial success. It doesn't matter if you're making $100,000 a year or $1 million a year. If you do not know how to use the money that you're making, you will always be broke because you do not have the financial education that you need. And so many people, so many Americans do not have that financial education, or they want to stay ignorant to this type of financial education, so they will continue to stay broke even when you have the opportunity of a lifetime just delivered to you on a silver platter. The funny thing is, if you took a survey of people who are struggling with money, every single one of them will say that if they just made more money, their financial problems would be solved. But the issue with that is more money can only solve your financial problems when you are financially educated. If you're not financially educated, more money will just make your financial problems worse. More money fixes financial problems with financial education, but more money cannot fix stupid. Look, if you want to fix your financial problems, you got to cure the stupid first. Because if you have more money is just going to amplify the stupid. So you got to take care of the stupid, and once you do that, now the more money can amplify your financial education. In the middle of a pandemic and a once-in-a-lifetime recession, do you know who came out as a big winner? Luxury brands like Louis Vuitton and Gucci. LVMH, the owner of companies like Louis Vuitton, made record sales in the middle of a pandemic, and they made more sales in the pandemic in a recession than they did prior to the recession and pandemic. LVMH is a luxury brand conglomerate, and they own brands like Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, and Tiffany, and they are making billions of dollars more now than they did before the pandemic because people got that extra cash and they want to spend it on looking rich instead of actually wanting to be rich. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't got anything against luxury. I love luxury. There's nothing wrong with having a $3,000 purse. There's nothing wrong with driving a brand name car. There's nothing wrong with owning $10,000 worth of jackets. The only problem is if you're buying the stuff before you can afford it, well, now you're making somebody else rich at the expense of your richness. I don't have an issue with people blowing money. I mean, it's actually a good thing. You're buying something that you like and you're supporting the economy, you're stimulating the economy, you're spending money. So there's nothing wrong with spending money and having a whole bunch of nice things. The issue that I have is when people are blowing their money to buy these nice things before they can afford it. See, I have no problem if you're buying nice things and you can afford these nice things, keyword afford, not just buy, because there's a difference between being able to buy something and being able to afford something. But the issue that I have is you have so many people buying these expensive, nice things before they can actually afford it. I was talking to a handyman slash contractor that I know the other day, and he was telling me why he didn't want to buy this bigger home. He said that he really liked the home, but the issue was if he bought the home, he would have a very expensive utility bill. He'd have to pay for more electricity, he'd have to pay for more gas, and he didn't want to have to do that. But the issue is if you're buying a home and you're concerned with buying this home is how much your utility bills are going to cost you, your priorities are in the wrong place. You probably can't afford that home if you're worried about what the utility bills are. You need to figure out what you can really afford if you're worried about paying the gas bill. Anytime someone starts talking about their financial stresses and why they're struggling financially, you start to see the blame game. People start to point fingers. It's the government's fault. They're not taxing the rich, or the government is taxing me too much, or it's my corporation's fault, or it's my boss's fault, or it's somebody else's fault. We just keep pointing fingers, pointing fingers, pointing fingers. But what you got to understand is when you're pointing your finger at somebody else, you got three fingers pointing back at you. There are issues in our economy. We are seeing rising inflation. We are seeing the rising cost of living. We are seeing things become less affordable. You want to go to the grocery store? It's going to cost you more money. You want to go on a vacation? It's going to cost you more money. You want to go out and buy a home or rent a home? It's going to cost you more money. This is the reality of the economy that we're living in. And yeah, this is somebody else's fault. This is because of all the money printing. This is because of bad regulations. But at the same time, you are also the person spending money on things that you don't need. If you have or if you finance your newest iPhone and you're driving around in a finance Beamer and you're wearing these designer clothes and then you go around saying that the reason why you're struggling financially is because your grocery bill is $50 more, something is wrong with the way that you're running your finances. The saying is, when there's a will, there's a way. If you really want the brand new pair of Jordans, you will find a way to go out and buy it. You will do whatever it takes. Cut back your costs, you will earn more money, that way you have the cash to go out and buy these Jordans. If you really want to wear a Gucci wallet, if you really want a Louis Vuitton purse, you will find a way to get the cash to go out and get it. You will do whatever it takes. You will make the sacrifices, you'll find a way to earn some more money, that way you can get the money to go buy this luxury item. And if you want to start building wealth and you really want it, you will find a way to cut back your costs and earn more money so you have more money to build your wealth. America is known as the land of the free and the home of the opportunity. That's why so many people are willing to literally risk their lives to come to this country. And the reason why it's known as the land of the free and home of the opportunity, because you are free to spend your money as you please, and as the home of opportunity because you have the opportunity to build wealth if you so please. It's not easy. That's why the majority of people will never do it, but the opportunity is there for the minority of people who want to seize this opportunity. My grandparents were refugees. When my home state of Punjab was severed by the Indian government in 1947, my grandparents lost everything. They lost their home, they lost family members, they lost their money, and they had to literally pick up and run for their lives with a sword in their hand. My grandfather saw his uncle get killed right in front of him because someone slashed him with a sword on the head, and so he had to continue running. By the time he got to the new side of India, he didn't even have shoes on, and he had to find a way to make it work. My parents grew up in India, where you don't have the same opportunities that you do in the United States, and in the 80s, when our home state of Punjab was bombed by the government, that's when my dad said he wanted to leave. So then my dad left India, came to the United States with less than $100 in his pocket, didn't know the culture, didn't know the people, but found a way to make it work. I didn't grow up learning about financial education or investing or money, but the reality is if you are born in a first world country and you have the ability and the means to understand and watch this video, you have everything that you need if you want to become successful. Now it's up to you. What are you going to do with all the resources that you have around you? Are you going to blow it? That way you can look rich while you're actually making everybody else rich and then just complain about how the system keeps screwing you over? Or are you gonna learn how money works? That way you can take care of yourself, that way you can take care of your family, and that way you can take care of your community. The freedom and the opportunity is there. The decision has to be made by you. NFTs are taking over the internet, and some people have been making millions. This abstract image was turned into an NFT, and it sold for $69 million. Jack Dorsey's first tweet was turned into an NFT, and it sold for millions. You saw this cat sell for almost $600,000. Just look at the cat. And then you have NBA Top Shots selling for hundreds of millions of dollars. And now Mark Cuban is getting on the game, and he's selling his quote as an NFT for $1,700. Let's start from the very beginning. NFT stands for non-fungible token, and what that means is an NFT is something that's unique and it cannot be replicated. To give you an example, Bitcoin on the other hand is fungible. What that means is if you have one Bitcoin right now and you exchange it for another Bitcoin, well, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between the two because they're not unique, they're the same thing. And so Bitcoin is fungible because you cannot tell one Bitcoin apart from another. Non-fungible is just the opposite of fungible. It's something that's unique, and that if you replace this one thing with another thing, you'd be able to tell the difference. So something that's non-fungible is unique and is one of a kind, kind of like a collectible. So the whole idea behind NFTs is you're creating collectibles on the internet instead of collectibles in real life. So if you take a Pokemon card, for example, if they only created one holographic Charizard in the world and you owned it, you have a collectible card. People can create replicas and mock-ups, but if you have the one-of-the-kind holographic Charizard, you're the only one that has it. Now, in the digital world, if you were able to replicate the same thing, a one-of-a-kind Charizard holographic card, well, other people could have the same image on their computer, but NFTs allow you to have the one-of-a-kind thing that no one else can replicate, and you can tell it's a one-of-a-kind because it's an NFT. At this point, you're probably wondering, okay, if you have an image of a Charizard on your computer, and I have the same image on my computer, how are we going to be able to tell which one's the real authentic one and which one's the fake one? Well, this is where you got to look at blockchain, you know, the thing that builds cryptocurrency, and I'll explain that in just a second. But before I do that, I need you to do me a quick favor and smash the thumbs up button below. So blockchain is the underlying technology that powers cryptocurrency, and essentially what blockchain does is it's a technology that allows you to encrypt data. That way you don't have to worry about your data or your transactions being hacked. Now there's a whole bunch of different types of cryptocurrency. Like you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, you have Litecoin, and Ethereum is arguably the second most popular cryptocurrency behind Bitcoin, and the blockchain that builds Ethereum is the same blockchain that's used in NFTs. So you take the technology that built Ethereum and you're using the same technology to create collectible art on the internet. That's the confusing technical part. So if you're confused, you're not alone. The rest isn't so confusing. Pretty much anything on the internet can be turned into an NFT. Music, art, videos, pictures, tweets. You know how people get really excited and they have a lot of pride about owning one-of-a-kind collectibles? Take a look at the old original Batmobile. People would be so excited to take pictures next to the original Batmobile. Well, the whole idea behind NFTs is taking this one-of-a-kind collectible mindset and bringing it to the internet, because the next generation does everything online. You take something memorable on the internet, like the first tweet ever, and now you turn this into an NFT and somebody can be the owner of this collectible. You can't drive around in your NFT and show it off to the world. You could like the original Batmobile, but you can still show off your NFT just digitally. I mean, think about it. People spend way more time here on their phones than they do out here in their real lives. It has gotten to the point where people are willing to go deep into debt, not to impress their friends and their neighbors that they know, but to impress their random social media followers. So while you might not be able to show off your NFT like you could the original Batmobile or like you could a holographic Charizard, people can still show off their NFTs on social media and Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and TikTok. This is where things get really interesting, because everyone says, why would you want to own an NFT like the original tweet, or a highlight reel of LeBron James dunking on somebody, or a picture of a cat, when you can see these same images on the internet? Like, anybody can still go onto Twitter and see the original tweet. People can still go onto YouTube and watch LeBron dunking on people, and you can find images of this cat on Google. Well, it's the same reason why somebody would pay $600 to buy a t-shirt with a big Gucci sign on it just so they can show it off. So I guess you can think of NFTs kind of like digital Gucci. The next and natural question is, are NFTs the future? You have a really broad spectrum of people when it comes to NFTs. Some people believe that NFTs are the future, so they're trying to buy NFTs thinking that it's going to be an easy way for them to get rich because they hope that NFTs are going to become very popular, and because they own the original NFTs, they'll be able to sell them for way more money in the future. Some people are thinking way more kind of practically. They think that the future of our life is going to be way more VR or virtual reality oriented, and so NFTs might have more kind of placement or value there, because if you're spending more of your time in this VR headset, this virtual reality headset, where you're living your life in the cloud on the internet and you're hanging out with people digitally through this virtual reality headset, then NFTs might be able to have more value, because now your NFT becomes real in your virtual reality life because you're living life virtually instead of physically. I know it's strange to think of, but this might be the future. I don't know. Some people think that this is going to be the next generation of Pokemon cards because young people do everything on the internet, so naturally they're going to want to own collectibles digitally. When you're a kid, you don't think about the practicality of Pokemon cards. You just want to own Pokemon cards because everybody else does, and you want to look cool like everybody else, so you want to have some Pokemon cards and get that holographic Charizard. I mean, even I had Pokemon cards as a kid. I mean, I had more Dragon Ball Z cards than Pokemon cards, but I had Pokemon cards just because everybody else did, and I thought that was cool. Now, the next generation does everything on their phone and their iPad, and so it's natural to think that they're going to want to have collectibles on their phones and their iPads. NFTs clearly fill that void. And then you have the rest of the people who think that this is just a fad and that this is dumb and that it will never catch on, and people are just throwing a whole bunch of money into NFTs right now because they're trying to speculate and hoping to get rich very quickly, and eventually this whole thing is going to come crashing down. Personally, I'm a big believer that the future is digital. That's why the Minority Mindset is a completely digital media company, and we invest all of our money into growing our presence digitally. You also have to understand that everyone over the age of 25 and 26 right now grew up in a hybrid lifestyle, where everyone over 25 and 26 grew up first without a digital life and then they grew into a digital life, while pretty much everybody under the age of 25 grew up in an exclusively digital life. I mean, I remember that when the computer started to become really popular, people started to joke that people are going to learn to type before they can write. And now that's pretty much reality. If you think about it practically, a decade ago, people were still skeptical about buying things on the internet because people were scared about what was going to happen if you put your credit card number online. Nowadays, everybody buys things on the internet. And if we go back a couple decades ago, everybody thought that the internet was a fad because in the early 2000s, the dot-com bubble burst, and so everybody thought that the internet fad was about to end. Our future is digital, so I think it's going to be natural for us to see more and more trends turn digital in the future, like getting these digital collectibles through NFTs, even though it might seem a little weird. Just because that's the case, should you be spending all of your money trying to buy up NFTs because that might be a way for you to get rich quick in the future? No, I don't like speculative investing. Speculative investing is where you buy something for the hopes that you can sell it for a whole lot more money in the future because you think this thing is going to have a whole lot more demand or a whole lot more value in the future. Now, some people are going to get rich with NFTs. Some people are going to find a way to sell NFTs, and some people are going to buy NFTs to sell them for a whole lot more money. That's the reality. That's not my game. I like to invest in things for value that I understand, because I like to invest in things that have a proven track record, and I like to invest in things that produce cash flow. Yeah, I think you're going to see booms and busts in the NFT market, and I think NFTs are going to catch on kind of as a more trendy thing, especially with the younger generation, just because that's the future. The future is digital, but when it comes to investing my money, I'd rather invest my money in something like real estate that's going to pay me with cash flow and that I understand, and that's going to provide real value, because now someone can live in this property, and hopefully this property will go up in value if it's in a good area, and during the whole time that I own this property, I'm still going to get rent. Now, if we're talking about NFTs as an industry as a whole, now that's an interesting investment, and that's something that could very likely become much more popular in the future. But before you take my advice, remember, investing has risks. You are never guaranteed to make money when you invest. You might even lose money, so make sure you do your own due diligence and never blindly listen to a random guy on YouTube. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, here's a video of things you need to be aware of before you buy a home that you think you'll love, and while you're at it, download a free guide on how to start generating passive income. And as always, keep hustling. 4 months go by and she could not get approved for a loan. At this point, we had to cancel the deal, and I had taken the property off market for 4 months, and it was just a huge waste of time on my part, on my real estate agent's part, and her part.